Hey, do you remember that artsy kid in class? They were a little weird, a little off, a little head in the clouds. Maybe you're like me and you were that kid. And actually, you know what? If it was you, I hope at least a piece of you is still that kid. We all know that a part of growing up means losing some of that fantastic expectation of the world and of life. Some of that is losing the magic in things. Other times it means rearranging priorities and negotiating values. And we're definitely told that this is par for the course on being an adult. Artists are often seen as irresponsible and unreasonable. We're seen as the dreamy odd kid that never grew up. But this episode is going to argue that the negotiation of what we saw in an ideal world is hurting us and keeping us from progressing. Being reasonable, being amiable, compromising, and incremental might just be why we're not as far along as we had hoped to be. Because you can only negotiate steps forward so much until the steps aren't covering any ground at all. This past week, I launched one of my most ambitious projects for No Peeking, and I've been terrified that I'm just asking for too much. And then I started editing this podcast. And honestly, speaking with Tara Moses might be something we all need from time to time as artists, because she is unstoppable. She is immovable on certain issues. And as much as I've trained myself to be grateful for my progress and reasonable in all of my requests, I have to admit to myself, this is far from the progress that I want to make and the access I really want to provide. So that might result in having to be bold and ask for more. More support, more help, more promotion, more connections, more buzz about what we're trying to accomplish. Because if you're anything like Tara or myself, or anyone reaching out to the community to normalize increased access, you know that it's not only about us and it's not only about now. It's about our neighbors and about tomorrow. I'm Amanda Levy, and this is Artist Gripes. Now, okay, so we're going to talk about community and relationships as our specific topic, and the specific gripe that you have has to do with Native representation and talking about how just having Native representation as like actors or roles is not enough. It's not enough?
It's not enough.
What?
I know.
What do you mean?
Revolutionary.
What do you mean? Tell me all your gripes. Go, vent at me. Yell at me.
Venting. So, we are living in a time right now where Native theater is finally being produced. The first time a Native playwright was produced on a LORT stage was in fucking 2017.
Wow.
That is not, no, I lied. 2018.
Oh.
Even worse.
Now we have to edit that. It's like, I'm joking.
Oh, well, yeah. Anyway, 2018, February of 2018, at Arena Stage. And yeah, that's the first time. Now, since then, there have been other productions. A couple other Native playwrights have been produced. It's mainly Mary Catherine Nagel. She is on fire, which is great. And so it's finally happening. And so Native actors are being cast in these Native roles. Hooray. But none of those productions have been directed by a Native director.
That's crazy.
None of those productions have had a Native designer or a design team, let alone. The only Native representation besides the playwright are the actors on stage, whose job is, to act, not be cultural consultants.
Yes.
Or like lead the creative ship and the creative team.
Does that happen? Do you think that happens? Have you been there?
Yeah, well, as a Native person who has been doing the theater for a long time,
yes.
I've never been cast in a Native role until last summer. And that was during a reading festival that a friend of mine asked me to be part of, the Native American New Play Festival with Oklahoma Indigenous Theater Company in Oklahoma City. Plug. Anyway, that was the first time I've ever read a Native role as a Native person. And
so, wait, what are the other roles that you've read for?
Well, that's why I actually stopped acting once upon a time, because there were no native roles for me to perform in. I would get typecasted into Latina roles, into roles for the housekeeper.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you stole all the housekeeper roles, huh?
I didn't want them. Anyway, but then it got to the point where I just wasn't cast anyway. And in my theater department, there were not very many women of color. I was like one of 3 for a very long time. And then we got like 1 more. And that was that. And so we were then all put in the same pool. And well, natives were just never a thing. So I was never in that pool. And then I was just never cast after my freshman year. I did like 1 show my freshman year and then was never cast in college. And so I was like, well, this fucking sucks, coming in, you know, as a performance major. But then that's whenever I really discovered like stage management and design. And I made my way to directing, which I was like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Wow, this is definitely the white man's mistake, because that's literally how I got into the same shit.
Yes. God.
I ended up getting theater administration, which is what gave me the tools to be like, I'm gonna make all of this by myself.
Right?
So
yeah, because people
big mistake, y'all.
Big mistake.
It's over. We're coming.
Yeah, I mean, because people ask me all the time, like, how come I know how to do so many things and do a lot of things? I do 99 million things. And I was like, well, whenever you're not giving access and opportunity, you're forced to figure out something.
Do something, yeah.
Do something. And so I took every single class imaginable that I could. I sat in on even more that I wasn't enrolled in, and then I went to even more just like for one day for a very particular lecture. And this was outside of my major, not just within it. And so it's interesting, whenever I graduated, I have technically a like DIY degree. It's very weird, because it's kind of like a triple major rolled into one, kind of, in a way. And I also had kind of, mostly. And I also had 2 minors, so...
Oh, great.
4 years, bitches, take that. Spite is a motivator.
It is. It really is.
And anyway, and so, like, so then I leave that experience. But before I did not know Native playwrights existed at all. And then, I think it was my junior year, I was in our library, like the school's library, in like this scary, scary basement that nobody went to, just like scouring around, seeing what's going on. And there was like a theater play section. I was like, I'm gonna go in here. What's in here? Like, because it wasn't with the other plays on the upper floors. And so I go there and I see a bright yellow book. And so it's bright, of course. I look at it. And it says Yellow Robe on the spine. And I was like, that sounds like that's a native name. And so I pick it up, and it's William S. Yellow Robe's like anthology of native plays. And had no idea he existed.
Why is it in the basement?
Why also is it in the basement?
Why is this in the basement?
Why did nobody tell me he existed? Like, I was never taught in any of my instruction that there were native playwrights, ever. Anyway, so I read his entire anthology, and I'm like, what the fuck? There has to be more. He can't be the only one. And that anthology was, like, from the 70s, but there's nothing before then that I have any record of. So we literally have native plays from the 70s.
It's a good time to have them.
It is, but from the 70s onwards. And so, like, native plays we don't have that long, rich history, as colonizers do, of course. And then also with other marginalized groups at that. And I just remember, I don't even know, like, how, I think I was, like, walking around in a daze for, like, days. Because I had no idea.
I was walking around in a daze for days?
Yes.
Okay.
Double days. Because I was like, how have I gone my entire life? Because I've been doing theater since I was 8 years old. How come in that 10-year span, 10, 11, I don't remember how many years span, did no one ever tell me that natives did theater? Because I was the only one I ever knew. I was never around any other natives. I didn't know of any other natives. I thought I was literally the only one. But at the same time, I was like, that can't be true. I can't be the only one. There has to be more of us. But where are they? I don't know.
They're hiding in the basement because apparently that's where they go.
Apparently, because all these fucking colonized institutions won't put us on the first level.
Yes.
Anyway, but yeah, so I went my entire life, no one ever telling me. So then I graduated, and my first job was at Arena Stage in their fellowship program. And so I go there. I'm the only native from the fellowship class. I was the second native they've ever had, I learned, which was great. Shout out to Ronnie. She and I are working together now.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! Love Ronnie. And yeah, it was just like, well, I'm just used to it. But then Mary Catherine Nagel walked in the door. And Arena was developing her play Sovereignty. That was the first one ever produced in 2018 with Sovereignty. And so it was just like magical. I was like a real, live, living, young Native playwright in front of my very eyes.
It's magic.
What? Yeah, and so I was fortunate enough to like sit in during that developmental process, and really like get an idea about what's happening. And then Mary Catherine's play was the first Native play produced on a laureate stage at Arena. And then since then, she's been at Oregon Shakespeare Festival. She has a play running at Portland Center Stage right now. You know, Larissa Fast Horse had one at Playwrights Horizons. Like, shit is happening, which is great. Ready for more. But what I noticed, though, is it was not directed by a Native director. There were no Natives on the design team. There wasn't even a Native assistant. And so it was odd, is whenever I finished my second fellowship, because I had two, the second one was special. They made it up just for me. But after I finished that, I didn't have like an expectation, but I was, I guess, really shocked. Not shocked, I'm never shocked, that no one asked me if I would be interested in assisting the directing of that play, because it was getting ready to go into rehearsals whenever I left. Like, I was there the entire developmental process.
And they're just like, we just can't find anybody.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there, and I was like, I could be an assistant.
And nobody's asking me shit.
No one asked a single thing. And like during these developmental processes, I had a lot of feedback, because the non-native actors in the cast would be asking questions, and then the director couldn't answer them. And so I was able to chime in or say things.
So you were like the free spokesperson that was like your personal encyclopedia.
I wasn't free.
Like, we're not going to give you...
I was getting paid $300 and then $400 a week, full time.
Woo.
Woohoo. I survived in DC on that. Don't ask me how.
Oh my God. That's
yeah.
insane.
Yeah, it was a time.
Yeah.
It was a time.
Pay your artist. That's another episode. Sorry.
Yeah, Pay your artist is another episode.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But do it, though.
Please. But yeah, and so I just... And I honestly, at the time, I didn't think anything of it. And it wasn't until later, because I was just so used to never having Native representation. And so thinking about like earlier generations of Native folks, and then they're just like, yeah, you get what you can get, and call it a day and be happy with it. But why should I be happy with it?
No, because it's hella late. It's stupid late.
Yeah.
It's dumb late.
I mean, because like older generations would be happy with just Native stereotypes in like sports mascots that are named after slurs. Yeah. Because they're like, 89%.
At least we're here.
Right? Yeah. And I was like, no, we're not.
No.
Not at all. I was like, these are historic relics from the past. There's this assumption that we're all dead. And then there's also this assumption that a slur is not a slur and it's okay to use because we're all dead. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like, that's not okay. Anyway, and so like I've been telling people about that process since then, and they're like, "Wait, why didn't you work on it? Why didn't they hire you?" And I was like, "I don't know the question. I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know if I should have asked explicitly, which that could easily be on me."
To be quite honest, just because I know who you are, and because you are very much like, I'm going to help myself to this. Thanks. You should have asked me, and I'm going to take it anyway because this is my world. Why didn't you ask?
I was in an institution.
I'm not saying like it's anything.
Yeah, no, I mean, because I'm a very...
not your fucking job, but...
No. For those listening at home.
But I'm just saying, as somebody that like knows you, I'm like,
right?
That's odd.
Well, it's because I was in the institution. And it's so difficult as a Native person because I don't function within settler colonialism. I'm part of the 2% of the country who does not. The rest of the country does. And so like being in that place where the institution is inherently oppressive, and then having that sort of like thought that, oh, they let me be in the room, like, wow, I should be thankful for that. Or like, wow, they hired me for this new fellowship, I should be thankful for that sort of thing. I call it like the moment where you realize Santa isn't real. I hope there's no young listeners, but Santa is not real.
There are no young listeners. This thing has curses all over it.
Yes. Or parents who listen, or caregivers who listen with young people in the background, please.
This is meant for mature audiences only.
You know, but you never know. People be listening.
Yeah.
Anyway, I call it like the realizing Santa isn't real moment. And I realized that in 2017, after I finished my second fellowship, And that's actually when I wrote my first play, too. That's a different story about how my playwriting professor wouldn't let me take his class. And so I have no formalized playwriting experience.
Oh, my God. I also had a director that was the dean of the theater department who wouldn't let me take directing.
I wonder why. Racist assholes. Anyway, another gripe for another day.
Sorry.
But yeah, and so my contract ended at the beginning of January 2017. I was moving back to Oklahoma at the end of January. And so in that middle time, it was like I realized Santa wasn't real anymore. Like, realized that just giving the bare minimum so they can check off their special token box of like, oh, look, we have a native.
Yeah.
Because that happened a lot.
How diverse we are.
Because that happened a lot. Like, there were multicultural panels, and somehow I always got looped in constantly. Whenever there were like fellowship events, I was constantly in the front row of the photo. And it was like, wow, no. No, that is not enough. In the year of our Lord and Savior Beyonce, it is not enough. And yeah, and so since then, I've just been on a rampage, one may say, or a warpath. Oh, no, that's bad.
No.
Oh, no, that's bad.
Oh, no,
Edit that out. Edit that out. But like, I've just been...
I probably won't now, because you're like,
It's fine. It can stay. See, all this anti-Indigenous sentiment just becomes so common in our vernacular. Even for me as a Native person, I have to relearn and catch myself. Look at that. What a teaching moment.
You've been on a frenzy.
Yes. I've been on a mission. A mission. A very particular mission.
Just like NASA.
Yes. Only I'm not trying to colonize other planets.
Yes.
And what's his nuts from?
No.
What's his name? He's like wild. He's like a billionaire dude, and he wants to colonize Mars. What's his name?
Not Bezos.
No, the other one.
Mark Cuban. Elon Musk.
Yes. See, I'm no Elon Musk. Yeah,
by the way.
Yeah, he's something else. But yeah, and so since then, I've just been like, no, saying no, that's not enough. And demanding more, and then here I am. Like, I wrote my first ever play with absolutely no training in 2017. It's had 3 productions since. I've written 5 plays now, including that one, and all 5 of them have been produced. And doing different things. I have 4 others in development. Doing all kinds of shit.
For other people that are Native listeners who maybe want to showcase that, why don't you tell us the titles of those plays?
Yeah, so my first play is called Sections. It has 1 or 2 director's choice.
Oh.
Yeah, I also have an addendum, so it's really a choose your own adventure. Anyway, it is a racially ambiguous young woman role. And I say racially ambiguous because the other people in the play just like to assume what she is and don't ever ask her. And then she tells the audience at the end.
Wow, that sounds really familiar.
It does sound really familiar. Yeah, that was from all of my experiences in D.C. exploded into that play.
Ugh.
What a time. What a play. Ooh. And then I have AO, which is going to Yale after this, for the Yale Indigenous Performing Arts Program. That is heavily influenced from Euripides' Trojan Women, and it's set during the massacre at Washita River between Custer and the 7th Cavalry and then the Cheyenne and Arapaho people. Yep.
That's deep.
It is deep. Yep. I'm going to be there next week.
Yay.
And then I have Quantum, which is going to be at Native Voices at the Autry at the end of May and beginning of June. And also at La Jolla Playhouse, doing a reading. I'm their selected playwright this year. And that was a more contemporary piece about a young woman who was adopted and doesn't know her background and then finds out that her mother was Native.
That's so familiar. I wonder why I know that.
Really? Yeah, but interestingly enough...
I produced it. Well, I produced
yeah,
it.
right?
Like, you were like, really? That's weird.
Anyway. Yes. It was at No Peeking and the selections of it last year, if you saw it. Indigenous, great program.
And everyone loved it. Everyone loved it. People were crying.
Yes. I
just want people to cry.
I really do. I just want them to be tormented.
You're really good at that.
Ha-ha.
You're really good at making people cry.
And I really want to write like a Native comedy that's like unapologetically Indigenous.
Ooh.
Like when we never talk about white people or colonization.
Ooh.
I know, but also I'm like, can I even write comedy? Everything I do is tragedy.
Am I funny?
Am I funny? I don't know. Our first preview. So Bound is another play that I'm in New York doing right now. Theater for the New City.
It's happening right now. It's literally happening in a couple hours.
Literally in a couple hours.
From this podcast. From this actual room.
Yeah. We were in the booth of the theater. And Amanda's our lovely, oh my gosh, amazing lighting designer. The things she has done.
Oh, stop.
I mean, really. Oh my gosh.
My assistant lighting designer is Gabby. And then my assistant lighting designer is Sonia. Because Sonia put black lights all up in this
Yes,
thing.
they did. Yes, they did. And so Bound is playing right now. And that one takes place in modern day as well as in the past, in the 1850s. And it's about the border wall, the alleged southern border wall, and how that's, not going to fly as indigenous sovereign people.
Correct.
Yeah. In a nutshell.
They're like, what's it about? I'm like, oh my God, it is about. Like, I get
Yes.
crazy. And they're like, oh, this sounds really interesting. I'm like, yeah.
Come buy a
relevant,
ticket.
Amazing.
It's accessible. The most expensive ticket is $18. Like,
Yes.
Yes, this is an accessible space.
Yes.
This is
So
written.
important to me, by the way.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that was my first question when I came here in December.
Is it accessible? Yeah.
Is it accessible? Because this bitch don't fly with inaccessible spaces. Socioeconomically inaccessible, inaccessible for levels of ability, inaccessible for different gender identities. Like, I am not here for that shit. Get out.
Get out.
Get out. It's also accessible for
it's
individuals
also
who are
hard.
native and not native.
Yeah.
And there's no excuses to not be accessible. I'm sorry. You can allocate your funds and redo your stuff. Nah, get over it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Get over it.
Yeah, I have a zero tolerance policy for lots of things.
Yes.
And then
As you will learn in this podcast.
As
Or
you
as
will
you're
learn.
learning.
Yeah, if you couldn't tell.
Yes.
And then my fifth work that I have is a adaptation. I did a lot of writing for it, so I was like, I guess it counts. And it's Hamlet, El Príncipe de Denmark. And I did it with Tulsa's Latino Theater, Oklahoma's first and only Latino theater, fun fact.
Good to know.
Yes, I am the interim artistic director.
Woohoo.
So it was a indigenous Mexican interpretation of Hamlet with a full indigenous and Latino cast set in pre-colonial Mexico during Dia de los Muertos.
Oh, this sounds so amazing.
Oh my God, it is so beautiful. If you are looking to produce it, I will.
Produce
I have
this.
it. You can find me on New Play Exchange or my website, TaraMoses.com.
We're going to put that on the end, Tara.
I gotta plug me now.
I'm going to plug it now, though, just in case you
just
don't.
in case you forget. Yeah, so those are my 5 completed works, and I have 4 others in various stages of development. Yeah, so
What is your takeaway then? I'm sure. I mean, there's a bunch of takeaways. I've heard no excuses.
no excuses.
Just do it. It's not good
Just do
enough.
it. Not good enough.
It needs to get better.
Needs to be better. Not enough. Yeah.
And if you're not going to do it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, so
'Cause you
spite.
do it.
Spite is important.
Spite is very important.
Yeah, I mean, people tell me all the time, and by people, I mean non-people of color usually, so the white people.
But that's mostly theater people in
Yeah.
general. When
Yeah.
you set sail into the sea of theater, you're like, look at all these white faces. No, and especially in production, I'm like, look at all these white male faces in general.
No,
It's
like I
not-
made an intentional decision. Like this for Bound that's going up right now in New York. My entire design team is women and non-binary femme presenting people.
Yes.
That is it.
I was so excited.
Yeah.
I looked around. I actually didn't notice that you made that decision until we had a production meeting. We were sitting at the production meeting, and I looked around and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
This is happening.
And half of the design team are of color.
Yes.
Like
Oh,
that's
love
my
it.
jam. I ain't got time for that shit.
Love it. I love it.
Yes.
This is the safest place I've ever done theater in my entire life.
Oh my God, this movie is so good.
It
Oh
feels
no.
so amazing. You don't even understand. Like, I looked around and I was like gonna cry, and I was like, don't cry because you're gonna look like everyone's like sleep deprived right now.
It's okay. Ellie and Sonia have been crying. Like,
Everyone's gonna be thinking that like you're having a breakdown, and really it's a breakthrough. But I was so happy and like honored. I just felt so privileged. Like, how many fucking people get to do this? How many fucking people get to do this?
Nah, it's the opposite of privilege at that. And also, it ain't enough.
No, I know.
It's not
But
enough.
it did. Can I revel in my joy
Yeah.
for
Yes,
like a
please,
second?
sorry. Yes,
Holy
please revel.
shit, dude.
My
I'm
bad.
just saying. I am not saying that it's enough. I'm not saying it's enough. It's not enough. It's not enough. But I am saying there was something that struck me that was like, it just hit me really hard. Like, whoa, what is different about this space? I feel like your shows are like my shows because I'm always trying to like create that thing. But when you're the person that's like making that space, being in it feels different. versus when that space is made for you and you sit down in it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's
Well, I don't know. I've never been in that situation.
Yeah.
But, womp, womp.
Well,
Womp,
that's
womp.
because you didn't come to friggin' New Jersey
I'm sorry.
for your 3 scenes.
I couldn't justify coming to New Jersey.
You could not come to Jersey City for your 3 scenes.
I mean, because I was also doing the Native American New Play Festival at the same time.
Well, that's true. And you know what?
I'm just a little busy.
Those are valid reasons, and I can't say anything.
Yeah, it's all right. But like as a director, it's difficult because you're the individual stewarding the environment, and so the environment's never stewarded for you.
Yeah, it's like being in the same. It's like being on the other side of the casting table at one point, like being a casting director or being an actress or something or auditioning. Like, that space is the same space. You guys are all there. But something feels different, and that's all I was talking about.
Yay! And I through this process, I've been checking in with my other designers, Melissa, Ellie, and Sonia, and be like, "How was this? How are we doing?" Been checking in with Gabriella, my amazing SM, who is presetting the show right now. Anyway, but I've been checking in with them constantly to be like, are you getting what you need? Da 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 da. And everyone has just been like, "This is I've never felt as though I'm part of a team and truly supported."
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, good. That's all I want. Also, this is Indigenous storytelling. You want hire more Native directors.
Yes.
Not just to direct Native stuff. We can do other things.
Everything.
Literally. I will not do August Wilson. Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
I
that
am.
makes sense.
Yes, but most things.
Most things. I will not do August Wilson.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
At his request, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I write the same thing for my plays. Is that it must be directed by an Indigenous person.
Yeah.
Sorry, not sorry. Because, again, being on the other end of that, it's 100% unacceptable. Unacceptable.
Yeah, unacceptable.
Yeah.
Inaccessible and unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean, all these Native plays that are being produced right now, hooray, that's wonderful, that's great. It's not fucking enough.
Yeah.
There's not a single Native on these design teams.
Yeah.
I'm not just talking about myself. I know of plenty other Native directors who have their fancy master's degrees, who have been working nationally and internationally. There's no excuse.
Yeah.
Are they all busy? No, they're not. I know who they all are. Am I busy? I am not. Well,
she is. Don't ask her to do anything.
No, please do continue to ask.
No, please ask her to do everything. But literally, I mean, I don't
encourage me to say no.
Mostly just give her the option of being like, not right now. Stand in line, please. Stand in line.
Yeah, please stand. I have a very long line.
But please keep asking. It is a long line, but it's. By the way, I have waited in that line. It's totally worth the wait. It's worth the wait. Wait in there. I know your feet hurt. It's fine. Wait in line because waiting in line for waiting in line for Tara Moses is worth the fucking wait. Just trust me. Trust me when I say it will change your life. It'll change your mind. It'll change things.
Can I send copies of this podcast to all these institutions who've been doing me dirty lately?
Yes.
Great.
That's great. As long as you also send them to my former college that didn't let me do anything.
Yes, yeah, y'all fucking missing out because now I'm over here reaping all the benefits. Aren't you jealous?
It's over. We're gonna start our own university and have our own theater department. It's only gonna be a theater department. Our university is just
theater.
The theater department, the theater university. It's gonna be great.
It'll be a decolonized institution. What a place.
It'll be amazing.
Just somebody has to give me my stupid fucking master's degree first. Yes. Damn it.
Well,
that's a different gripe for a different day.
It'll be the master's. I don't even know what that gripe is. I
got some tea. I don't got no public tea, but I got some tea.
Oh, do you want to talk about how old you are?
Oh yeah. Well, I just had my birthday during this process, so I'm 26.
That's how young she is. Yeah. She's 4 years old, essentially, to me, and all I want to do is work for her. I'm like, little baby, can you please give me a job where I'm just around you all the time?
I know, and then people are asking this little baby to run their companies.
Yes, but that is an amazing, I don't know how you feel about it, but I just keep thinking, that's such a, to me, it's an overwhelming sense of really proud anxiety. That's how I feel. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And then I also feel like if somebody had offered me that when I was 26, I may have been like, yeah, I've been waiting for this. And then I would have been like, oh no. But you're
I mean, I don't have
able
it.
to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have that anxiety, luckily.
Good for you.
But all of this comes from, I've been doing this for a long time, and then being the first and only. I'm always the first and only, never one or the other. Always the first and only. Native in the room, until this process, actually, with Amarinda, which is a specifically Native organization based in New York. Anyway, but having to deal with that, and it's an extreme form of tokenism. Like, I'm the marginalized who's so marginalized that when you talk about marginalized people, you don't talk about natives. Like, it's always the case. Like, you list out marginalized people, natives are never mentioned. And because of that, that is an extra barrier to face. As women, we know what that barrier is. We know that glass ceiling. As women of color, there's another one. For trans women of color, there's even more, right?
Yeah.
And then as a Native person, there's an additional. Because the majority of the country, 85% of the country, thinks that natives have all died from genocide. Because 85% of American textbooks teach that natives are a population that died out by 1900. So, I also meet people and, educated people who have all of the degrees, all the accolades, and they told me to my face they thought that I was dead. And I'm like, wow. Right? So I got to deal with that, and the historic relic thing, and also, the over-sexualization, all that shit. Anyway, and so in order to get to where I needed to go, which I still feel like I'm light years behind my white peers. I don't know if that's true, but I feel like it sometimes. I've had to have done the best of all of the things, all the highest of accolades.
That is a common theme in our podcast. I don't know if you've been listening to it, but
yes, I have.
Yeah, we have been talking. We're like,
we know.
Do you know that you have to do better than everybody else?
Yes.
You have to win. You cannot tie because that is losing immediately.
So I'm hoping people who are listening at home who don't struggle with these form of oppressions can hear that same thing over and over and over again and realize it's not just unique to one person. It is unique to basically everyone who is not a cis white person. I
can't explain to you how many actors or actresses are white actresses and actors who are griping about the fact that a person of color has edged them out now, and they're like, well, apparently they don't want white people anymore, and I'm like,
or maybe you're just mediocre. Have you thought about that?
Or you suck. Did you think about maybe?
Well, what I always say, because I'm also a consultant, but what I do say a lot is that equity feels like inequality to those who've always had more.
Yeah.
And so all of those white ingenues, they have had their pick of every single major role, every single opportunity. And so now it's hey, let's work on leveling the playing field. We ain't there yet, but let's work on it. We are really not. We are so far. Ugh. Oh my God. And so we're okay, great, let's make this more equitable. And so then they feel as though they're being oppressed. Y'all, you want to know what oppression is like?
Yeah.
You don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know. Yeah. Not at all. Yeah, and so it feels like they're getting, it's unequal, but it's not. That's what equity is.
Yeah.
And justice is whenever we don't have to think about this because it's our normal. Maybe we'll get there in my lifetime.
Look at you with your little jams. Stop it.
I like to have a good time, but also send a message.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Wow, that's real NPR. Sorry.
Yeah, so I really want to get that TED Talk. That's one of my selfish goals. I only have 3, which I'm pretty proud of. Only 3 selfish goals. The rest of them are to uplift the community.
What is the other one? So
TED Talk. I want to write a tell-all memoir. I think it'd be really good.
Ooh.
I have lots of trauma and lots of advice. And
you have trauma?
Oh, bitch, please. Don't we all, but boy, yes, I do.
Yes.
Ooh. And then I want to be on Forbes 30 under 30.
Ooh. Well,
I know somebody who got on there, so it can't be that hard.
Yeah, because all you have to do is know someone.
Yeah, and I know someone. I'm can I get on it? Because they always have a mix of people. It's always a theater person. Anyway, and so if there's any Forbes folks listening.
It is usually a theater person.
Yeah. I know. And I was listeners at home, if any of you are Forbes people, I am available, and I would love to be on the 30 under 30 list. I only have 4 more years.
Forbes, get it together.
Please, Forbes.
Right now.
This is now the second podcast I said this in. So, it has to come. I also tweeted about it. It has to come to be.
Yes, it's got to happen.
Because those are my only 3 selfish goals. My other goals are to make theater more accessible for marginalized people, to create pathways for other Native artists to have an easier time. Because this has not been easy. This has been a struggle. I've only done Native theater for a year.
What do you mean it's been a struggle?
Because of the extreme tokenism, being told, oh no, we can't do Native things because we don't know any Native actors. Or, oh no, our audiences aren't ready for Natives. Or, oh no, we're not ready to decolonize. I'm seen as wild card, and the institution is scared. And I've been faced with that sort of shit. And it's, you know, I tell people I have a superhuman level of determination. Like, we know this by now, right? Full of spite. But if I was 2% less determined, I would have quit by now.
Yeah.
And I know how much determination I have comparatively. And I was like, I know that the vast majority of people are not at that level. And so since I am, I feel this responsibility to my community to be a good relative. And so for individuals who don't have the access to opportunity or resources or even just mental bandwidth to do it, emotional bandwidth, knowing that I do have it is now my responsibility for those who don't, to make it easier for them as they go forward. That's what I plan to do. Plan to decolonize the theater, watch out arena, they already know. I plan to run them. Change is only going to happen after institutional change. And so that's also why I need the stupid highest of fucking accolades of all of the things, all of the fellowships, all of the things.
All of the masters.
All of the masters from the Ivy Leagues of schools. Because I plan to be an artistic director of a LORT institution, not just any LORT institution, $18 million budgets minimum, because that's the only way there's going to be change is from the top down. And knowing that I'm on this path and there's no one in front of me, like, literally me. So, you know, I got to do it. So it would be easier for those who come after. Like, that's the biggest goal. So, like, it's like, I think only having 3 selfish goals is okay.
Well, so when you were like, no one else is in front of me, though.
So I don't have a mentor of how to do it, how to navigate settler colonialist institutions as a Native individual. So I have to learn it as I go. Learn how to translate to non-Native audiences into non-Native executive leadership about what I'm trying to do that doesn't make them scare them and burn the institution down, even though that would be fun. I'm not going to. Future employers, I'm not going to.
Don't worry.
Yeah, so I've had to learn how to do all that on my own, which then goes to this like scripted thing people tell me all the time. That they think I speak with a script constantly. Because I was like, nope, I've had to have already pre-thought out and communicate in a way that can transcend these like barriers of like, oh, a Native person, you're off your res? Like, what are you doing? Like, what? Sort of thing. It's all been just years of skills I've had to develop as well how to teach, how to educate, how to bring people in a non-threatening way so that they can listen. Because, like, sure, I'm a woman of color, you're going to get pinged as aggressive, we all fucking do. But additionally, as a Native person, it's another added layer on top of there.
So, takeaway. So the takeaway is the part where you tell someone, either you tell the artist, or you can tell artists or your community or people that are your kin, something to arm them from against society in some sort of way, or something to help them function in the future, or you can gripe at society and tell them what the fuck to do and where the hell to go. I mean, I feel like you're going for the second one.
Well, I try like a multi-tactic approach.
Yes.
I mean, because I don't want Native people to assimilate, and I've been forced to assimilate in institutional situations to survive and succeed. I don't assimilate no more. That's done. No more. But like to help other Native people not have to assimilate, because again, that carries that intergenerational trauma, and like that's a whole different thing. And yeah, but I was like, it takes someone to do it first, who gets the majority of the pushback and the slaps in the face and the like push down the mountains. That's me, and it's fine. But luckily, it's like I have a huge support system of Native artists who are working, living, doing wonderful things right now, who like I'm inspired by, who give me motivation. Like right now, there are 5 Native plays playing across the country, and I'm one of them, by 5 women. Well, not 5, because a couple of them have a couple plays, but by all Native women. And it's like, and I'm one of them.
That's still amazing.
Yeah, right? For the first time in this country's history.
Yeah.
The first fucking time, and it's 2019. April 2019.
That's late as fuck, y'all. I'm not saying that it's late for Native playwrights to come to fruition. What I'm saying is it's late that we're recognizing this late. It's late. We're late. All of us are late.
No excuses. Damn. But yeah, and so like that's where I get like that sort of like strength and motivation. But I mean like these are easily accessible things that theaters can do. It's just that they don't want to because they think, oh no, it's too hard. But in actuality, they are just continuing to perpetuate the cycle of elitism and classism in the theater.
Also, it's funny because you're like, they're saying it's too hard, but you also mentioned something about equity feeling like oppression to people with privilege. So in general, they're like, oh, it's too hard. Oh, is it? Is it too hard or is it just uncomfy?
And also, do you just not want to do it because you're lazy? and you want to keep all the money to yourself.
Mostly.
Again, like I've been involved with institutions with the 18, 20, $22 million budgets. That money is there. It just has to be an executive decision choice to allocate it to these resources, and they're not doing it.
Yeah.
And they try to use other excuses, but I'm a firm believer that you take care of your people. And if that means you do one less show a season, you do one less show a season.
Is that the takeaway?
That's the takeaway.
Do it.
Yeah. I mean, because people are always like pushing the programming. Yeah, but who does the programming? The fucking people. And I was like, you can afford to pay your people a living wage, provide child care and other caregiver accessibility accommodations that's needed, to make everything accessible for people of varying levels of ability. Like, hell, there are days I wake up and I am tired and I really don't want to climb up 3 flights of stairs.
Yeah.
Like, cool. Let's do it. Anyway, and it's all about reallocating your priorities because their funds do exist. And also your programming will not suffer if you have a happy people. But furthermore, you also have donors, especially young donors. There's a book called Decolonizing Fundraising. I'm also a consultant in regards to fundraising. I can talk all about it. Yay. Anyway, and grant writing, what you need.
Different episode.
I have lots of skills. I wonder why. Anyway, where, especially younger donors, because we're all talking about like, where are the donors? Well, they're all fucking dying off. Duh. Anyway, but how you reach these younger donors is that especially millennials, right? We know, is if a theater specifically is taking care of its people, it's doing one less show a season, but it's providing childcare, it's doing all of these things, younger people are going to be more inspired to donate to that organization. And so it's getting out of this capitalistic structure, which again, I'm indigenous, it's easy for me, but apparently it's hard for everybody else. Anyway, and putting our resources in the people and then seeing how these capitalistic dollars will come because our priorities are straight. It's really easy. They just don't fucking do it.
It does, yeah, it does sort of create itself in a lot of ways. I remember sitting in a production meeting and someone said, oh my God, everybody is a person of color here. It does tend to follow through. It does it all by itself. Like it starts to just run itself in a certain way.
That's also why I'm a firm believer that all theaters, including commercial Broadway, y'all heard me. Anyway, it should make all theater pay what you can. Because there's no reason why theater needs to be this elitism thing. Because here's the thing. There are people who will give you a quarter, people who give you a high five, and then individuals who will give you hundreds of dollars for their one ticket because they believe in that process. Like, they just need to do it. And it's not hard. It's really not hard.
It's really not hard. You're fucking late. And do it. That was the takeaway.
There's so many takeaways. If y'all are counting, I don't know how many nuggets have been dropped.
There's a lot. So many nuggets.
Probably enough to get...
Thank you so much for listening to Artist Gripes, and thank you to Tara Moses for reviving my expectations in the world. I hope she did the same for you. Pre-show and post-show are written by me, and the theme song is composed by Julian Gordon. The podcast is a no-peeking production, so be ready for a shameless plug because we are crowdfunding to put up our first show in Los Angeles this summer. You can donate to our campaign on our website on nopeakingtheater.com or on Indiegogo.com and search for No Peaking Theater. Every dollar counts, and we have about 20 days to reach our goal, so please show your support by donating. Bye!
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.